Welcome to Schumacher's Business Success Skills webinar. Today's session is about getting from A to Z, how to structure your project, which phases you structure your project in, and starting somehow and getting somehow through to the end. Thank you very much for joining. We do this every 2 weeks, and in case you have missed one or in case you are missing one of the future ones, you can always watch it on YouTube. You can either see the link on my bio on Instagram, Benni_Frowein, or you can also, I think, just search us in Google for like Business Success Webinar Schumacher, and then you see them popping up. But coming back to today, we have 3 exceptional creative minds here on it. And I feel very honored to have you, Brigette, Jeffry, Katie, with me today. So let me extend a very warm welcome and a very appreciative thank you to the 3 of you.
Thank you.
And I would like to introduce you, if that's okay. So we have prepared a little slideshow with some images. So let me share it. Can everyone see them? I hope that everybody can see them. And I would love to start with Brigette. Brigette is originally from Chicago and then moved to the West Coast to fulfill her interior design dreams and start her own companies. I really like a quote by Brigette that I think describes her approach to interior design best. And I hope it's okay that I use this in my little introduction, Brigette. Never trendy, the spaces must be fresh, functional, aesthetically alive, that will continue to inspire for years to come. And I think, again, this quote really nails the style and nails, what we see on these pictures. Self-taught, Brigette has been awarded AD100 in 2019. And again, looking at those gorgeous pictures and, seeing what you do, I think very rightfully so. So thank you for being here today.
Thank you for thinking of me and having me. Thank you.
Katie, Katie credits her evolving design, and I also loved reading that about you, Katie, to growing up in Florida. You're a very stylish mother that we all want to get to know more about, and experiences living all over the country. But mostly, I think, Katie, you being a wife, a mother, you have dogs, you really also, create spaces that are family friendly, and, you're living the life yourself. You really understand how to live and decorate a place that is practical. But I think one can sum up your style as happy, family friendly, and approachable. So thank you very much for being here today. Also, I'm really thrilled. Thank you, Katie.
Thank you.
And then last but not least, Jeffry. So Jeffry is a principal and founder and principal, of Fisher Weisman and Brigioni, and is another incredibly talented interior designer. Jeffry is based in San Francisco and San Miguel de Allende in Mexico, and the company is not only known for their exceptional interior design projects, but also for their handcrafted furniture, lighting, and accessory line. And everyone who is joining today, I really recommend you check them out. The products are just divine. Jeffry, also your work has been published by pretty much every magazine that I know. And so I think it's, again, an honor also to have you here. And I just really can't wait to speak with the 3 of you and, suck all the information on what made you successful out for all of us that are joining here. So again, thank you very much.
Yeah,
thank you.
Thank you.
Before we start, really quick to logistics. Oh, I forgot, by the way, it's so rude. I forgot to introduce myself. So I'm Benni President, and I happen to be the moderator today. So that's my little introduction. The only thing that I really want to encourage everyone who is watching, please share it on Instagram, take a screenshot, post it, in your stories, on your feed, make this known so that others can benefit from the series and can join the next times. I think that would be lovely. So the next 30 minutes, we're going to do a conversation. I've prepared a couple of questions. that I will ask, and then we will do the last 20 minutes, we do a Q&A session. So for everyone who has a question, you can hover with your mouse, at the bottom you see the Q&A button, and you can just simply type in your question there. Try to make it short, because normally I have to read the question, pose the question, listen to the answer, and already read the next one. So it just makes it easier for me if the question is short. So I've been thinking how we as an audience can get to know you a little better before we get into the nuts and bolts of being successful in running a project. And Brigette, I would love to start with you. We are all pretty much, tied to our offices or homes, but at the same time, we need to get inspiration. So I would love to understand what your current design crush is. Is it a color? Is it a piece of furniture? Is this architectural detail? I would love to know what you feel really excited about right now.
Oh my God. I'm absolutely in love with design, and I'm really passionate about it. So to have a crush on one thing would be really hard. I'm crushing all the time. And I'm inspired. I mean, it sounds corny, but it's true. I'm absolutely inspired by everything I see, whether it be a color, a leaf, the color of the leaf, the shape of the leaf, what can I do with that? I mean, I'm always inspired. And now, since we're home, my library it's new to me again. So I'm going through and doing a lot of research and enjoying books that I haven't seen for quite a while. And the thing that jumps out to me the most is right now I'm having a love affair with Pierre Pauline, which I'm just obsessed. I've known for many years and used pieces, but having a real love affair there. Gosh, I could go on. So as long as you stay inspired, because I believe that if I were to stop learning and growing, then there's no point in doing what we do. So I never stop trying to take in information.
Amazing, thank you.
Yeah.
Katie, Jeffrey, like in the first question we do ladies first, that we asked you, before. Katie, what's your current design crush? Like, what do you feel really good about right now? Or it's,
it's it's hard to feel really good about almost anything right now. So you have to really look for it, right? I think I'm really inspired by the world right now and what's happening, and comfort is really important to me. To have people around me is important. The whole experience of the quarantine, I think, was so traumatic for everybody. My office practically turned around. I had 2 people make life changes and leave. I'm proud to say we didn't furlough anybody, but we're actually hiring more people than we were before COVID because we're so busy. But one big shift in my whole outlook was that I had been an recent empty nester, and moved into the city of Boston. And my husband and I were planning on buying a townhouse or an apartment in Boston. We're starting to look. And this happened, and now we've since bought a house back in Wellesley where we started. So, my dreams of being the cool kid in town have been dashed, but life has a funny way of working itself out. And I think that for me right now, what's super important is space and comfort, and the luxury of having space is such a luxury, I think. And just being able to go outside and breathe. So I know that sounds totally corny too, but for me, I'm really inspired by the idea of suburban living again. I mean, that's my practice is sort of based on that. So it's ironic because I was really moving into a more urban mindset, but I'm kind of come full circle.
Thank you. Thank you. I think a lot of us feel that, the reconnection. Jeffrey, what do you feel inspired by right now?
So also at the risk of sounding a little cliche, the thing that has really, really struck me in the last 4 months is a completely different sense of time. And you know, everyone talks about being here now and all, and being present, but I have not literally been able to be present the way I have been for many decades. I'm so used to flying, especially marketing Fisher Weisman collection and going to all the showrooms and trade shows and things. I've just been in constant motion and dividing my time between Mexico and San Francisco. So to have been in the same bed every night for 4.5 months for the first time as an adult, and to be, because I'm in San Miguel, to be close to all the workrooms that make our collection, I've had this amazing luxury of time to create new designs and to work with the craftsmen and the artisans on things that normally I have to do like this, by not literally by Zoom, but by email and photographs and sending somebody and whatever. And that reconnection with craft and with being eyes on, hands on has been fantastic.
Thank you for sharing that. So if we take all of this energy and the silver lining of this that you've just been sharing, and I keep hearing also, you know, that clients actually start doing new projects. So we thought it could be a very good topic to discuss today, you know, like how to get from A to Z and how to pitch that and so on and so forth. So I wanted to ask you, you know, and Jeffrey, maybe we just start with you right away again. Now you go first. You know, a big part of that, the whole like A to Z, is like how you structure and how you organize the project. And I would love to understand, when you pitch a project, into which phases do you segment the scope? Like, what would you tell the client when you meet them the first time?
So what we do is we describe our process. We describe how we get to know the client and how we move from understanding a visual vocabulary together and understanding exactly what their dreams are for the project, to showing them things. And I find that, you know, like many things in life, as you get older, it gets much easier. It gets much easier to know when a client is a good fit when you're first having a meeting with them. But it's really important to listen to clients, and it's really important to be direct about how you work and what you want to do and how you're going to get them, as you say, from A to Z. How can we start something and end up with you absolutely happier than you could have imagined you would be with the final product? So we try to get clients to, if we've never worked with them before, to show us images of things that they love. And there's always the hesitation where they'll say, you know, I don't really know why I tore out this page or clipped it from Pinterest, but there's something about it. And it becomes so easy to look at a series of images and come up with a very clear picture of actually why they pulled each image and what is going to make them work. So that's really how we start. And the process, again, as you get older, it just goes faster every time. It's easier. I did a big presentation this week by Zoom with my partner in San Francisco in the room with the client and me here. And I was amazed how easy it was.
And you, so the first phase basically is that you let the clients explain to you what they really like, what they feel, what they, you know, like to show you pictures. The second, then assume that it's like a design phase where you go and you do, you know, you create the design, and then it's this installation segment, or?
Well, I mean, we don't have strict structure of phases, but essentially, first you listen to what they're saying. Second, you do room layouts to scale. And I often do what we call a Rorschach on color and texture. So I might get 200 fabrics and sit down and say, just tell me what you like to touch. Tell me what color makes you happy. Tell me what you hate. Because from there, I don't like to go into an actual client presentation with 1,000 things. I want to go in saying, this is the sofa, this is the chair. Not that we can't move stuff around, but I feel like A, you're being hired as a professional because the client wants your opinion. And B, when you have too many options, it makes it appear that you're not clear about what you think is the right direction to go. And the conversation just spins and spins for no reason. It's better to be, I think, direct with a clear idea of what you want. And if it's not perfect, rework it and come back. Like, use that as a learning experience, but I don't like to have too much. And then, you know, we design a lot of the furniture that goes into our projects, so that takes more time after the fabrics are selected usually. And then you order it and then you install it.
Yeah. Brigette, how strict are you, or like how much process guidance do you give your clients up front? Like, how do you segment your scope?
I think that's a great question, because my firm, we're just a couple years old, and so I'm learning all the time, and I'm adjusting and pivoting and turning things on their heads to try to get to what I think is going to be the sort of the procedure that we follow. But having said that, I feel that clients are different, and I approach them differently. From the beginning, it starts with a potential client calling in, us getting an idea of what the scope is, and if it makes sense for our firm. And then from there, I would go and take a meeting and see the project and hear what the clients the possible clients anyway, are thinking, and what they want to do. And then I will go back and talk to the team, and we figure out, is this something that we can put into our schedule? Is this something that would make sense for us? And then from there, if we think that that is something that we want to do, we put together like a contract of sorts and send it to the client, and it will say that we're going to present you 2 boards or 3 boards, and we can make revisions, but at a certain point it needs to be solidified so we can get moving. And as we all know, clients are incredible, and we are in a service industry, but you have to set some type of boundaries, because you can begin to feel like, and it's so great what you were saying, Jeffrey, like you could begin to feel like their assistant versus the designer if you don't have a strong opinion about things, and obviously in a great and kind way, but they are coming to you for a reason. And my first jobs, if anyone's out there listening, you feel a little bit like, oh, what's happening? Because you can get involved with the client and feel like systematically all the things that you really wanted to do and they were excited about, that they could possibly be saying, now, no, I don't know, and you pull back, and that's okay. But you have to learn to speak your language and your science of your design, and implement that, but in a way that makes them really happy as well, because we are going to walk away as designers, and they're going to have to live there. So I think it's important that we create a space that is really livable and beautiful, but it has to have a structure, because otherwise it could go on for months and months and months and months and months, and cause hiccups in other jobs. So our procedure and our protocol is that the call comes in and they tell us about the scope. We decide if that's something we want to move forward with, go and take a meeting, meet the clients, see what they're talking about, go back to the team, speak to them, see that it makes sense, and then we talk to the clients. Here's how we'd like to do this. Here's what we'd like to present to you. Here's how many we'd like to present to you. So we're going to present you 3 sofas, and maybe there are 2 revisions. After that, we have to pivot and do it a different way, because it really can be where you're in a place where you didn't expect to be, or things aren't moving as quickly as they should. And I love what Jeffrey said. It's like the more you do it, kind of the easier it gets. And that's what I'm finding as well. But you do 100% have to have a structure and a way that you move about, because otherwise you'll just be all over the place.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Brigette. How, Katie, do you do that? Like, how firm do you, form those phases when you meet your client?
Actually, it's funny. I mean, I think we're incredibly structured here. And a lot of what Brigette said, well, a lot of what both of you guys said resonated with me, but I take it probably one step further, in the sense that, and I don't know why this is, maybe it's because I studied philosophy in college, and I tend to really analyze people, but I do my own vetting. So if a potential client calls in, I always talk to them myself. I won't have someone on my team vet them. I think it's super important that I'm the first voice that they hear, and that they feel that they don't have to go through some gateway to get to me. I'm not, behind some shield or secret gate. And I want to feel accessible and approachable. So that's important to me. I can tell right away if someone sounds like they could be a good fit or not. Of course, you're talking to them. While you're talking to them, you're Googling them, you're, figuring out where they live, you're, it's true. We all do it, right? So it's like dating someone. You have to figure out if you're a good match. And there's a lot of different components that go into that. There's personality, there's, the scope of the project, and is it on brand for you, location, all sorts of things. So you take all these things into consideration. And I think chemically, right away if it sounds like you're a good fit. As you said, Bridget, then you take meeting, and we send out a new client, for lack of a better word, like a group of documents in a PDF that sort of describes how we charge, describes our process. We actually went and did a flow chart. I know that sounds insane. It is insane, but a lot of our clients are in the finance industry, and they think in terms of spreadsheets and charts and this kind of thing. And no matter how many times I tell them, or no matter how much verbiage is in my contract, I always have people forgetting things or asking the same question that is in the contract 65 times. So we put this chart together so that no one can claim, you didn't tell me that there was going to be a bill after, such and such for the installation of the drapes. We try and spell out all those hidden costs up front, so that I like to get sort of the money stuff over with and then just have fun.
You're gonna get a lot of more questions from me on that, because I'll be personally, I love flow charts. I use them in our company all the time, but I also think that it's super helpful to really dive into the different phases. And I would love to do that with the three of you. And maybe, by the way, I found very interesting listening to the three of you. Everyone said, well, the first phase doesn't start or isn't the design phase. Everyone said, well, the first phase is getting to know each other and vetting. And every one of you used the words, then we decide whether this is a fit. So I found that very powerful to hear that all of you actively decide whether you're going to take on the project or not, which obviously if you have a lot going on is easier than when you don't have a lot going on, but you probably protect yourself from a lot of headaches if you take an active decision. And I keep hearing that a lot. So I just wanted to echo that. I found that very consistent from the three of you. But if we skip the first phase now in terms of like getting to know each other and so on, because I think for most of us that comes natural, I think the first phase, when we talk about the design phase, and I would assume that you all have, like, maybe you call it a little different, but that's kind of the first phase. Katie, maybe again, like starting with you right away again. So what is the exact scope of that phase for you? Like, how do you explain that to the client, and what do you think belongs into that?
Well, so I typically start with Pinterest. Used to be my favorite tool. It's slowly becoming Instagram over Pinterest. But basically I find myself pinning from Instagram. So, it's still Pinterest. I actually take a lot of cues from what people wear and how they look and how they present themselves. And that gives me a lot of context clues into what their style is. And I always ask people, I send out this really kind of psychological questionnaire to people when they are thinking about hiring me. I ask them where they like to travel, what their favorite vacations are, where they like to stay, where their favorite places to shop, where their husband's favorite places to shop. Do they make their bed every day? Do they leave dishes in the sink? I want to know about their lifestyle habits. I want to know all of that, because that's going to help me recruit all kinds of data that I'm going to need to inform my decisions on what to show them, what kind of lifestyle they live. Then basically I think I forgot the question. What was the question
No,
again?
no, you're answering it. But, you know, for me, really, like, if you speak with your client about the design firm, like, what is really a part of that scope? Like,
Oh, well, you have to,
because we spoke about, you know, you have to somehow structure it.
right. Well, you have to, I bill my time like a lawyer does, right? So for me, and this is interesting because I just started doing this at the beginning of the year. I used to have a flat fee, and where I found myself getting into a lot of trouble with scope is that the scope would just go on and on and on and on.
The curse of the flat fee.
Right. And I basically was the most profitable person you would ever meet in your whole life. It was ridiculous. And it got to the point where my accountant said to me, you have to stop. I mean, you're giving away your services. So I started charging by the hour. And so the freedom that affords me is that, sure, you can walk the house and define the scope, but the scope gets, they're paying for my time. It doesn't matter anymore. So the scope can grow, it can shrink, it can stay stagnant for a while, and it's still, you know, I'm still protected as a firm because we're still going to have the billable time. So, so I think its scope goes directly along with how you charge, right?
Totally.
Yeah, agreed.
Mhm.
Agreed.
Bridget, how do you do that? Like, so imagine you're sitting together with me, I'm your client. It's, you know, we figured out that we really want to work with each other. You know, we just, you know, signed the contract, or you're explaining me while we discuss the contract, like how the first design phase, how you structure it, and what your deliverables are from that phase. Because, you know, I'm a first-time home, you know, owner.
Yeah.
I don't really understand what I'm going to get after the design phase. What are you giving me as a client as a deliverable, and what is the scope?
So what we do is we have schedules, and different schedules that represent different parts and different phases of the entire process. So there's a furniture schedule, there's a budget schedule, there's everything from lighting to, the client has access to see every single thing. So they have a portal through the site, and at 2:00 in the morning, if they want to remember what chair we picked for this room, they can go and they can access through their portal on my website, so they can look at everything, and everything is put into the schedule. So
what portal are you using?
I'm sorry.
To interrupt. What portal are you using? Sorry for interrupt, but I'm
Oh,
sure that
okay. Builder Trend is amazing. Builder Trend is amazing. Smart Street, all of it. It makes it so that, and it's very true. Like, clients do forget, Katie. Like, they forget things, and fair enough, we all do. But when it's there, there's no denying it, and that's really important when you're starting out. Try to get everything on an email or an approval. Those things are really, really important, because there will come a time when a client will say, oh, I don't remember this, or I don't remember.
I make people sign everything. Every page.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly right. And if we can tell you guys anything, do that. It'll save a lot of hassle and trouble for you. And so with us, we've just done it that way, so that the questions, because you spend so much time trying to answer their questions, and this way it's just right there for them to see, and everything is done in the office every day. We have someone that just inputs information all the time, and it saves, you wouldn't believe the amount of time, the amount of stress that it saves. It's just very, very, very helpful. And getting it set up is a little bit of it's time consuming, but once you have the project in there, it's one of the best things you can do for your firm. And I have a friend who's an interior designer, and charging hourly is just really important, because there's a different respect for your time as well. And she was getting calls from clients. She would do a flat fee and be getting calls from clients, to be 10:00 at night. I have this idea, and all of that is great. It's fun. But when you're on a flat fee, it feels a little bit more not as great as when, okay, if you want to call me and we're going to have this conversation, that's fine. But this is working. This is absolutely
you're gonna
working.
pay for it.
Boundaries.
Yeah. She's
Brigette,
even started charging for calls, and she found herself, making a huge profit on that and it does create a sort of a respect that the clients have. They no longer just call at 11 o'clock at night or anything like that. It's just it's a way of them respecting what you do, because what we do, as much as we love it and it's creative, we're still running businesses.
Right.
and Brigette, do you charge the same way throughout the whole project, or do you charge in the installation phase with a markup, but like in the design phase by the hour? Or like, is that all for you by the hour?
It's by the hour.
Interesting.
Yeah, by the hour.
Jeffrey, imagine, again, I'm your new client. I wish I was actually. I'm your client, and it's the first day of the project, and I'm super excited. I'm in your office, and I say, "Hey, Jeffrey, like, how are the next 3 months going to look like? How would you describe me how that first phase would look like for you?"
So before you asked that question, I would have done exactly what Katie and Brigette are talking about, which is really vetting them and really hearing what they need. And you get a sense of a client's expectations pretty quickly. Most of the clients that we get are fairly experienced clients. They're not generally first-time decorators. So they've been to this rodeo before. They understand that nothing is sitting in a warehouse waiting to come to them, that it all has to be made, and that it is a process to first determine what it's going to be and then to place those orders. So there's a huge variation in how much time projects take because how much construction. I've got one project I've been working on for 3 years that hasn't broken ground yet, and it's got a 3-year construction schedule. So, I'll be a decade older by the time that house is done. But you get a sense of how much work do other people have to do. If it's just straight decorating, it's so much easier because you can lay out how much time you need, also taking into consideration how available the client is going to be. Because often, not so much when in 20 years ago, but now, clients can be everywhere and very hard to pin down and actually get answers out of. So I just try to lay out how much time we need, what sort of schedule we have to have them available if they're in a hurry to get decisions made. And we know how long it takes us to produce the things. That's pretty straightforward. So it's more figuring out how long it's going to take them to make a decision and how available they will be that affects that schedule, construction aside.
Mm-hmm. Katie, you're into the project, do you go room by room? Do you do the fabrics all first? Do you do the wall coverings all first? Like, how do you go through, how do you take your clients along, with decisions?
For me, so I tend to do, as I've gotten older, I tend to do larger scale projects, right? So most of the projects that I'm working on now tend to be longer term, where we're either doing a gut reno and then decorating, or we're doing a ground up new build and then decorating. So they're usually whole houses or the better part of whole houses, which I think is something that comes with time and experience and, good fortune. So I am definitely a textile person, self-taught. So I don't have the technical background that some other designers who went to school have. My staff always teases who's going to go on the measure, and everyone always is like, "Oh, not her! Nobody wants me to come on the measure."
That was good planning. Good planning.
I know, but my stories always start with fabrics and wallpapers and colors, not with rugs, but with textiles. I always kind of start pulling things and bundling them together and making stories on the floor. And I like to sort of visually, I'm very big on sight lines and on having the house feel like each room has a relationship to the next, but not be matchy. So I kind of look walk through the house mentally with these textiles and wallpapers and other objects in my office, and I start to sort of almost make like a little path on the floor or roadmap, and I bundle things up, and then I figure out where they're going to fit in. That's how I start.
Interesting. Bridget, how do you do that? Like, how do you take the client along? Do you also do it the similar way like Katie, or do you say like, oh my God, no, I could never work like this. I do it completely different.
Well, it does depend, because I think that I have clients that are interested in every single part of the design phase, from the front door to the back door. They want to know what the stitching is going to be on the sofa. They want to know, I mean, just everything. And then I have clients who say, okay, here are the keys. I'll be back in 6 months. So it really depends. And I've learned to still have the same process with everyone, but it's to what degree they want to really be involved. So if it's a client who really wants to be involved, it's the showing of boards. We nail that down. And when we do the boards, we show fabrics as well. And then we begin to sort of curate our story. And then as we do that, I don't take my clients shopping a lot. I know some designers do, and I've done that once in a while, but I rather just show them the pieces and then just make it happen. The shopping days with clients they're fun, but for me personally, I don't get a lot done. Because we end up more like having fun. So our process we show the boards, and we show the fabrics, and we adjust and curate, and then we have usually another meeting, and then everything is approved, and then we just go about purchasing, and in real time we place it into the schedule to let them know what is happening. And we do renders in our office. I think that that's been really helpful for clients, because some are visual and others are not. So when we can knock one out and they can really see what the room is, that's just been fantastic. And it solves a lot of issues and problems where, I'm saying this is everything that I think is great. And they might say, I love everything but the chair, but it's just great. It's just been a really helpful way to work, and it makes the process quicker.
Interesting.
Yeah, I really like, and I like seeing them myself as well. So, it just helps me to know what I'm doing too, and I like to pull from all different styles. I'm not married to one style, so I just make sure everything is harmonious. And my idea of design is I make a movie all the way through, but there are different scenes. So one room is going to look different to the next, but there's a connection, there's a through line, and there's a story.
Yeah, I find it very interesting. Thank you for sharing that, Jeffrey. Like, how do you, with having also your own handcrafted, furniture and lighting and like, do you start there, like with furniture, or do you also start like Katie more on the fabric side and trying to create a mood and understand, room to room? How do you do that?
So we start from the very beginning of the creative phase, both on the scale floor plans and the fabrics. And I agree with Katie, not so much on carpet unless we're buying antique carpets. And if we're going to have an antique carpet, that has to come first, because it makes your life hell. When you're looking for a very expensive, specific size antique rug, and they have fallen in love with fuchsia and puce for the fabrics, and you can't find anything, that you're just in trouble. But it's interesting that, to me, I love, and in our partnership, our partners have different strengths, but I love floor plans. I go crazy. I do it by pencil, because of course I was raised drawing with a pencil. And CAD is great for so many things, but I don't think it's great for doing residential room planning very much. So I spent a lot of time parsing out what I've heard from the clients and how to make the rooms function incredibly well, whether it's at Christmas or it's your kid's birthday party, or it's the husband and wife or husbands or whatever having dinner by themselves, to really think about how the house is going to work, so that when we make the first big fabric presentation, we're looking at every room and they have a very clear picture of how we see that room laying out and looking. And I find it impossible for me to separate those two.
Interesting. So much to learn from the three of you. It's amazing. And it's already 45 minutes are gone. Who would have thought? So I feel we have to get into, you asked before whether, you know, that you should have gotten like this like red button where you can answer now the Q&A questions first. I did terrible homework. I didn't get them to you. So we tried to do it without. So I've already have 20 questions here, and some questions are targeted anyways, like to one of you guys a little more than others. But let me start, and let's try to be like super short and sharp to those, because, you know, we probably run out of time. And I want everyone, I want to encourage everyone who's watching, you know, now is the time to put down your questions, because we try to get through all of them. So Gary asks, I just had a very weird window coming up here. So it was like, do you want to end the meeting? And I'm like, no. All right. So Gary asked, and I think, Katie, this is a question for you. You know, cities provide energy. How do you get that energy from a slower pace environment? I think this question came from the very first moment when you said you kind of feel inspired by suburban life again.
I think that honestly, energy to me is more of, it sounds corny, but it's like around you, right? And I think that each client, again, I take a lot of cues from people's personalities and how they present themselves and what they seem interested in, and how they, you know, when they walk into a room, what kind of presence they have. So regardless of where you live, you know, it's all about who's inhabiting the space for me. But the other thing is, you know, I always like to reference the environment that I'm working in. And if I'm working in an urban environment, you know, I don't want it to look like grandma's house necessarily. I want to make sure that it somehow relates to what's outside. If I'm in Vermont, I'm not going to want to do tropical coral wallpaper like we're at the beach. You know, you have to sort of just, to me, it's all about respecting your environment, what's around you, behind you, and who's inside. So, and all of those things have different energies, and that's what makes each project so different.
Awesome. Next question. Bridget, maybe you want to answer it. At what time in the process is client's budget discussed?
At the very beginning. At the very, very, very beginning, because, you know, that's how the design is informed, you know. So what I find is, and I've had this before, where a client will walk me through their home and tell me everything that they're wanting, and then they'll say, you know, we want to spend like $5, and I'll have to say, you know, and so I'll have to say, well, that's not gonna work, and obviously in the nicest, most polite way possible, but that's a real thing. So you have to discuss that right up front. And so, like Katie was saying, you get your fees out, you get that information, because they have to know that, as well as what their budget is for their furnishings and all of that. I mean, they have to know all of that. It's really, really important. So at the very, very, very beginning, and even on the phone call that we take, and it's not, you know, and I say, please, I mean no disrespect, but it's just important to know, you know, if it's worth doing. And again, I really don't want that to sound obnoxious, but you're going to be invested in this project for months and months. And the more clarity you have right at the beginning, the less stress and issues you have. So that's right at the beginning.
Right at the beginning, and I think
right at the beginning, and I would tell everyone to do it. Don't be shy about that, because you'll only pay for it. Did you catch that? Pay for it, but you'll only pay for it later in other ways, when, you know, it hasn't been discussed, and there will be a resentment or an issue, or, you know, just as important.
And can I just interject one thing? I'm sorry, I know Jeffrey probably wants to talk, but for me, one thing that I've learned over the years is, unlike, and I say this to people, unlike when you're dealing with a real estate agent or realtor, you tell them you can spend X, but you really know you can spend more because you know they're going to show you something above your budget and tell you you can negotiate it down. And it's this kind of dance that you do. I always say to my people, tell me what you can spend, and whatever you say, I'm going to respect that and take it literally. So the only person you're cheating is yourself if you actually have more to spend, because my decisions are going to be recruited from your budget. So if you tell me you have X to spend, but you really have X plus Y, you know, I don't really care. You have to be really straight with me. You know, as opposed to the stance that you do negotiating with realtors or with other people where, you know, is how much do you have to spend? Well, I don't know. And you know, I like to really drill down on that.
Thank you, Katie. I think that's also a very important remark. Questions are exploding. So we have 10 minutes left and we have 29 questions left. So I hope we somehow go through them. So let's be quick. So Katie, also very quick question. Somebody asks us, you know, whether you can show us somehow a sample of a flow chart. So maybe you want to, on Instagram, you know, post a story or something like that, or maybe people can approach you via DM or something like that.
Yeah,
I don't
do it. Don't rip it off though.
You can white out some key parts.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Flow chart, all right.
Just like, you know, no, that would be great. So then Denise asked, Jeffrey, maybe you want to answer the question, you know, have you had a client who did not seem thrilled after the install, and how did you handle that situation? Or like where they say, oh, in reality, you know, it seems different.
I can't say I've had that specific thing happen. I think that so much of the process is about managing expectations, and you know, whether you have a system like Brigette where they can actually look back all the time or not. I try to stay very connected to the client and keeping them informed and making sure they know. I've had clients on custom pieces sometimes be surprised about something, surprised by the scale or some little detail of color, but it's never been, I've never honestly had a problem with it. It's always been, oh, I didn't think that would be that whatever. Because again, so many clients are not visual, as Brigette said. But I don't know, maybe one of you have had that situation.
Yeah, but I think, you know,
You've had that situation, you're in trouble.
Yeah. It's a, yeah,
but I think
it's a
you
lesson.
said something very important, Jeffrey, and that is expectation management, and just like talking through it over and over again. And you might also feel that they haven't understood it perfectly yet, and you reiterate that, right? So that's what I read between the lines of your answer.
I'll also add one quick note that in our contract, we don't let the clients be present during installation, and we don't do partial installations ever. So
Totally agree.
Really helps. So the client comes home to a finished house, not seeing bits and pieces, but because we do so much custom stuff, I often share images of pieces as they're being completed, because that it's a teaser and it gets them excited, and it also, again, prevents them from being shocked by something, or if there's an issue, you know, early.
Right.
Yeah.
And can I just say something quickly? We do something that we call work orders. And so if it's going to be a custom piece, everything is written on this work order, every single thing. The material, the shapes of the arms, what the legs are, the finish on the legs, the filling, everything. And it is signed by the client. It's so they are aware of what they're getting and have signed off on it. So there are no surprises.
Talking about surprises, Brigette, a lot of customers, a lot of other interior designers watching this are asking, what rendering program do you guys use, and how do you charge for that? Is that part of your hourly fee, or do you charge differently for that?
So we use V-Ray, we use SketchUp. We have a few that we use, and now there are a lot of virtual. You can create the rooms virtually, and people can like walk through the houses. So it's kind of incredible. But that's a separate fee altogether. So when you get a contract from us, and some clients don't want renderings, once in a while they don't, but it's listed how everyone's time is billed. So there's the shot, there are the drawings, there are the renderings, there's the PM, which is project management, there's the principal, that's me, there's the junior. So everyone's listed. So there are individual fees for that. And oh gosh, renderings, I'm trying to remember how we charge for that. But I think, so what it is the first rendering, I think is like 1,100. And then if the client is asking for minimal changes, then we do those. If it's just a color change and I agree with the color change or something, then we just do those. And we do, I think, 2 or 3 revisions. And then at that point, it becomes hourly if there are more changes.
Yeah, very helpful. Thank you. Thank you, Brigette. Another question. So many of them. So most projects don't have a natural flow based on production and finance. How do you manage flow expectations with your clients? Mm-hmm. I don't know. Whoever has the red button, go first.
Jeffrey, go.
I was just going to say, I think the going back to the point of not doing partial installations, if you look at what the production schedule is going to be for your worst vendor or your longest lead, and you work backwards and you've structured your wallpaper hanger and your drapery installer and your carpet installers, and you know how long it's going to take, you just pad it a little bit. And if they're telling you, like, I'm not the guy to call if you say, I need you to do my 16,000 square foot house in 6 weeks. I don't do that. I don't know who, I mean, it's a different business. And I don't schedule something that I can't do comfortably, because that's when you make a ton of mistakes and when the client's really unhappy. So give yourself the time to do it right.
Mm-hmm. And you manage that by letting them, it's so important that everything is clear up front. So when we do the schedules, we'll literally say, we're going to present boards to you on this day. You have 5 days to respond. If you don't respond in those 5 days, literally the calendar itself will adjust, and because you haven't responded, and then you'll get, the rest of the boards or revisions for the boards on this day. So it's really, really laid out. And if something is off by a day or two, the calendar adjusts. So, we're saying, listen, we want to do it for you as quickly as possible. And when they start the process, they want it all done yesterday because they're excited. But you do have to manage those expectations so that you can do your best work and they can have the home that they really, really want. And in the end, they're always happy and thrilled, so.
I'm really taking away from all of you, in this session, that it's all about transparency and communication, because that, alleviates all the problems down the line. I find that very interesting. Katie, you mentioned at the beginning, flat fee versus hourly charging and so on. And we have Rishad who asked a question, scope creep. The project always seems to grow with a fixed fee, but then I find clients complain about the hourly fees too. So how do you deal with that?
I feel like fees are something that they should feel comfortable and natural. And I feel like how much you charge is directly related to how much someone's willing to pay. So if someone's not willing to pay what you're asking, either they're the wrong client for you or you're charging wrong. It's one or the other. So for me, with the flat fee, what I found was exactly what Brigette was talking about. I would be getting texts on the weekend, at night. No hour was off limits. It was just continual. And it was consuming me to the point where I felt like I had no life. And I really needed to draw those boundaries. And so the hourly fee has helped me do that, because people are much less inclined to constantly text you and call you if they know that you're recording your time. And it does help.
I agree. And if I can interrupt, had even charging hourly. I've had some clients who act like it's a fixed fee. I had one send me 67 emails on a Saturday.
Oh,
But to her credit, she never bitched about paying for our time to respond. So I didn't respond on Saturday, but I didn't eat my lunch the way you would have on a fixed fee.
right.
But the thing is, I feel like with however you charge, I always say this to people. If a plumber came and fixed your pipes and your pipes were burst and he said, "Oh, ma'am, that's going to be $45 an hour and I spent 2 hours, so here's a bill for $90." Would you then say to him, "Well, wait a minute, $90? So why can you, I feel very strongly about my fees feeling comfortable and appropriate. And if someone has an issue with your fees, they're not the right client for you."
That's a sure sign from the beginning that this is going to be a difficult journey together.
Right.
And if I could add a little note, all of us over the years, we get to a place where we know that what we're charging is fair. Like you talk to your colleagues, you get a sense of what the market is. So when you know that you're not crazy, you're not charging double, much less 50% more than somebody who with a similar background would be charging, you never apologize. And I love when a client occasionally will look at our contract and say, "Is this negotiable?" And we would say, "No, I'm not going to rewrite the contract for one job. It is what it is. We'd love to work with you or not, but if it's not for you, no hard feelings."
Yeah, you have to be willing to walk for sure.
Totally.
I mean, I think that when someone starts out of the gate trying to negotiate fees or your markup or whatever it is, I run the other way.
I think that's one of the greatest things advice that I was ever given, is that you have to be willing to get up from the table, because if not, you're going to have a tough time.
Yep.
Guys, we have 30 seconds left. Let me ask you one last question. Do you, because I got this question a lot of times in here. So we speak about hourly charging. Do you on top do a markup, or is that then net?
Yes.
Hourly plus markup.
Hourly plus markup. Okay. So that seems to be the answer. It's already 5 o'clock. I can't believe it. The hour flew by. And I see here a lot of other questions about charging, about what to put into the contract, pitfalls, and so on. We couldn't answer all of the questions now, but please, everyone who is listening, look for our webinars on YouTube. You can either go to YouTube and search for them, or you can go on my Instagram, Benni_Frowein, and you see the link there to the past webinars. We've discussed a lot of those topics already. So it's you can watch them from the comfort of your home. And I think they've all been super helpful. And you can also watch this one again. I believe that either today or tomorrow it's going to be online. Mm-hmm. Katie, Brigette, Jeffrey, thank you so much. It's been an incredible 60 minutes. I mean, I think we all want to hang out with you now, and because there's so much more to learn.
We'll have to Mexico.
I'm planning for a big martini party with all participants of all the webinars, or panelists of all the webinars. So as soon as we are allowed to travel again, we're going to do that. Thank you very much.
Sounds good.
Thank you. Stay safe.
Thank you. Lovely remaining day. And to everyone who's watching, thank you for being a part of it. Spread the word, and in 2 weeks, zoom in again. Thank you.
See you soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.